Okay.
And we are recording.
Okay. Ash, we're convening at 6:31 according to my clock here.
All right, good to go.
So we have an agenda, but we have a request that we put Leslie on, and I'm going to put her under progress reports #1, Community Day wrap up. So we're going to skip to that and then go back to approval of minutes.
Okay.
And to be clear, it is sort of related to a Community Day wrap up, but it is a spin-off of that, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So I can report on Community Day, renamed the Maker Faire for 2020. So it was a great success. It was the first Saturday, for those that did not attend, the first Saturday. I think everyone on this call perhaps attended, but I'm not quite sure. I'm on phone, not on video, so I'm not sure everyone who's on. But it was, we had 62 vendors total, spread out in Riverside Park, spaced out, and the folks from Community Fire who were doing traffic control estimated that maybe like 2,000 to 3,000 people came. I thought it was more around 1,500, maybe to 2,000. So we were averaging at the height of it, there were maybe 300 or so people coming through every 45 minutes turnover. What was great was it was really a lot of social distance, 98% mask compliance, I would say, from vendors and shoppers. And we put out a survey, just like a 7-question survey from vendors asking about if they would return again, how they felt it was organized, and we're collecting the results from that so far. Everything sort of ranging of 4.5 stars and up of the cost and the layout, and they're, I guess, pleased with sales, so foot traffic and sales as well. So it was a great day, and it was in combination with Thompson Together as well. So it was a great fundraiser for them, and they're a supporter of Community Day and Candidates Night and the Townwide Tag Sale and other events. So we shared the proceeds with them as well. So a spinoff of that was we had of the 62 vendors, I think around 24 or 25 were from Thompson. And it got me kind of thinking about, and then I saw something on social media or somewhere about Small Business Saturday, and it got me thinking about what are we doing for Small Business Saturday in Thompson, and what ways can we help our small businesses in Thompson for Small Business Saturday. It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and traditionally it's been named that because it's the day after Black Friday, so encouraging folks, to shop local and to do that. And so Tira and I had a few ideas that we kind of threw around in the office, but also wanted to reach out to this group and see what kind of ideas they might have, and then also to reach out to TBA and see, how could we help, or do they have ideas, and how can we, as a town, support them, or as EDC support them in the promotion of Small Business Saturday and the promotion of Thompson small businesses on that day.
So do you want to, actually, before you do that, I want to add one more thing, well, 2 more things, but one right now to the wrap up on the Maker Faire, which is that Leslie and I also had an email from somebody involved with Discover Putnam. And, we spend a lot of time saying, well, we don't want to constantly compare ourselves to Putnam, which is totally legit. Here's an instance in which Putnam reached out to us because of our success in that Maker Faire, asking to connect with our vendor list. So it's not just that we thought it was a success. It was that, people whom we have been looking to as doing this in an exemplary fashion were very much admiring of what we pulled off with the number of vendors and the time we turned it around. And because we really had this idea very late in the year for what you would normally consider a craft fair. I can tell you as somebody who works them, the high quality fairs, they book in January for summer and fall, and they fill. So it was, and part of that, of course, was COVID related in that a lot of those fairs got canceled and high quality vendors were available at a time they wouldn't normally be. But still, you know, it was nice to have the recognition. But anyway, Leslie, now go on with what you actually pitched.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a couple of ideas. I mean, they range from just as simply as, you know, promoting Small Business Saturday on our social media and on our website and through our emails and listing, you know, members of TBA businesses in town, to, you know, doing something similar on a smaller scale, something similar to the Maker Faire. The challenge is that it's cold in November, so we would need to find an inside space, you know, and limiting it to Thompson residents only, you know, having a place for those who aren't vendors selling a product, you know, a physical product, but maybe they're you know, landscapers or house cleaners, or they have, you know, a business that they want to promote, a place for them to do that as well, to have their material. So I think it's just, it's another opportunity. We're on this train of promoting our businesses in town and small business and drawing people into town or into the downtown, quote unquote, you can't see my air quotes, the downtown area to then go to our restaurants. And so I just think that there's an opportunity for us to continue that ball and keep it rolling.
Yeah, so the idea, after we talked about it for a while, I would say that the iteration that seemed the most feasible to me was sort of like the townwide tag sale in that it was a multiple location thing, but more central and controlled, and also capitalizing on the idea of these restaurants as small businesses and the place that you would go for lunch. So, you know, having the library, perhaps the community center as a place where you can space multiple vendors that could include some of the less traditional vendory businesses, like, you know, maybe you could get gift certificates for a house cleaning service or a landscaping service, with also some people who make, you know, goods, but also having each of the local restaurants who are open for lunch or who could offer lunch in that day host one or two vendors as well as their space would allow.
Sorry, my dog.
Oh, is that your dog, not Brian's dog?
That's my dog.
I
Sorry.
can see Brian's dog. Anyway, so that was what I thought was the most feasible option. But caveat here, both Leslie and I think, would rather see TBA and EDC really take that idea, organize and run with it, just for logistical purposes. So that's why she and I are bringing it up here.
And that would be something similar to our business expos that we had, except it was all in one place. But it was
one place or a couple places to, you know, to prevent sort of you know, we were able to do the Maker Faire because we were outside. You know, if we were to be in the community center, it would have to be, you know, someone at the door and only allowing a certain number of folks in. And, you know, it would have to be so it would be helpful to have, you know, a couple different places that, you know, or better open, so just to spread out the crowd, you know, or the group of folks. But
well, even though we have multiple rooms in the community center, which might help a little.
Yes, it definitely would. Yes. Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Is it something, Brian? You're on TBA, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it something that you think they would be interested in?
It's certainly it's worth talking about. We haven't done an expo in a while. This would be, you know, similar, not like something completely new that we've never done. It's just changing it to suit COVID times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can talk to the group and see what we think.
I think it's also asking, I mean, there's strength in numbers, so it's also asking what would be helpful for TBA. There are businesses in town, and in what way can we support an organized event, whether it's through, registration through the rec office. We have a great online registration system that is I'm really trying to promote as being available, across departments and we have, TBA also goes on Winnie, but just the opportunity to sort of cross promote and for us to support something that will be helpful to the businesses, on that. So whatever they feel, and if it is something where, just having online presence of promoting the day, I mean, that's the least that we can do. I think is really Small Business Saturday has a logo, and promoting that logo and promoting that day, and that event in town and linking businesses on social media is the very, very least that I think that we can do to help with. But what other ideas they might have or be interested in. So.
Brian, when is the next scheduled TBA meeting?
We do the second Wednesday of the month.
So it was last week, which means the next one wouldn't be until a week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
so if this were to be something you brought up to the group, it would have to be outside your meeting structure.
Yeah, but I could start by, just bringing it up and see, because we can communicate over email to see if we have some interest.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think too, the short notice, yes, is sometimes a good and a bad thing. If we don't want it to be, as big as the Maker Faire, obviously be moving indoors and trying to keep our crowd small, but we do want to, I think, offer some support on that day and in whatever way we think will work. So that's something that.
Whatever we do, it'll bring some focus on small business, like you said, even if it was just something linked on the tube.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and linking on that day, and and it's definitely a big day, and is generating. I think that's one of the things that's great is that there is a national campaign for this day, and so a lot of the marketing materials and the promotion is already done. And I'm sure Winnie's going to be talking about that day and Small Business Saturday in the towns, in the area, and what's happening on that day, and where you can go on that day. And I think that's definitely something that is growing in its popularity. For people are skipping the Black Friday and they're going out on Small Business Saturday. So.
Yeah, it's good for us. It's a town made up mostly of small business.
Yep, absolutely. So,
so in terms of a next potential step, Brian, what do you want to do? Email your membership?
Yeah, I'll see if I can get some kind of feedback within just a few days, because, we are getting close.
Yeah,
I think asking them,
give it a week, I think we can decide if it's viable.
Yeah,
I think asking them if website and social media promotion is something that they'd like help with, or if they're interested in having a table or a booth, to have information and their business information or sell products, or is there another idea or a way that we can support that we haven't thought of?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I have a question
Great.
that might result in some unexpected available space. Am I correct to remember that St. Joseph's School closed down?
We talked about that, Charlie. You are correct. We did talk about that as a potential space. Yes.
Good, because I came on a few minutes late. I was only 4 minutes late.
We didn't tonight on this meeting, but Tira and I talked about that space. Tira and I did talk about St. Joe's. I like the idea of being in our community center. I think it's nice for folks to see. We have a beautiful community center and library, and I think it's nice to also promote it. Although they're not a business, they are a part of the town, and so If it's possible, if we were to outgrow that space, if we had a huge response and, Brian responds and there's, I don't know, 30 people that want to have a table or a booth, then we need to look at a larger space or look at spreading people out. But if we're talking, a dozen or 20 or so tables, then I think that the community center can accommodate. But we did have St. Joe's kind of on our radar as a backup location should it grow, or yeah. So
Okay.
just thinking.
Thanks.
Well, just so you know, our most successful expos, it was right around 29 or 30 setups. And those,
Yeah.
so when, we're not going to have 50. So community center may just work without an overflow, I would think, especially with short notice like that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you also have to keep the separation distances in mind. So you might have fit 30 in a community center under normal circumstances, but if that was full, then you have to figure it's going to be half that.
Half that.
In
Well,
one
I was just
location.
saying, with our well-planned expos and lots of lead time, our most successful,
Right.
I think, were 29 or 30.
Oh, I see what
Right.
you're saying. Okay.
I'm just saying that was maximum with a lot of planning.
And I think, Brian, the thing to mention too at the TBA meeting is that people don't necessarily have to be, if they're selling products or goods, then yes, they would have to be present. But if they just have information, there can be an information table. And if they don't want to be present, and I think when Tira and I were imagining it, it was also a shorter amount of time. The Maker Faire was 6 hours.
5 hours.
We're imagining something where 3 hours or so, a shorter amount of time. So it's a holiday weekend. We don't want folks who run a small business work really hard, and they should deserve holiday time with their family too. So I think also saying if folks aren't able to attend the event, we still could have information about small businesses in town out at our community center for people to see, or out at our restaurants for people to pick up.
Yeah, and we've done that kind of thing before. We'll take out menus, a place for somebody just to leave business cards. So that can be part of it if we go through with this.
Yeah.
So just one more thing then about in terms of the wrap up, which is the actual agenda item. And I know I mentioned this to you, I think each of you individually, actually personally that day, is that one of the reasons that we were interested in that Maker Faire was a proof of concept, right, for the idea of the pop-up vendor village, the seasonal vendor village. How does it look? Would people come? Does it fit the space well? And I think we do, in fact, have proof of concept for that now. So when I go to Dave Eddy in the spring to get, 2 more of those chalets built, potentially, 3 of those does not an event make, but considering, and again, we're going to revisit all this in January, we've already decided that, considering TBA and EDC taking on some of the management of getting vendors, tent vendors, to supplement the people who rent the chalets, is going to be something we're going to have to start to strategize again about. But we know that conceptually, it translates to on the ground very well.
Yeah.
I think another thing, Tira, just for us on our mental note about is that since we were generous in sharing our vendor list with Putnam, when it comes time, we should ask the same of them when we go to look for vendors.
Absolutely.
To keep that in mind. I think that it's great to have a friendly relationship with them, and to keep that is just going to make us both, stronger and filling our events. I think there's enough vendors to go around. So.
Yeah, definitely so.
Well, thanks for letting me go first of all. I appreciate it. And I look forward to hearing from you, Brian, and seeing how we can promote Small Business Saturday in Thompson. So. Yeah,
I'll talk to you as soon as I can. Thanks for coming on, Les.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Have a good night, all.
Good night,
Good rest of your meeting. Good night.
Yeah, and the only other comment for that agenda item is that we did close out the NIPS program on that day.
We closed out phase one, which is the local collection and the reward for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going back into conversation with May and with the two gentlemen from Three Tiers for Connecticut after the election cycle is done. It's just too much for May while she's campaigning and all the other things she has to do. So that was what we agreed on. But you know, everybody's committed to working on it. So that's going to look good for Thompson in the end if we get a strong bipartisan legislative language, you know, piece of legislative language put together that May can then take into the state and see if something can get passed. It's kind of cool. I just found out, in fact, I think it was Leslie who told me, I just found out yesterday, a town up that I used to live in, actually, in Massachusetts, Gardner, Massachusetts, did a 1-day 5-cent NIP buyback. It was done, I think it was actually the owners of a local liquor store. They did not pay the participants. The participants collected, and that liquor store donated the value of 5 cents per to some local beautification nonprofit. I don't know if it was municipally based or independent. But they got 50,000 NIPs in Gardner in 1 day. Now, I can tell you that I've lived in Gardner, and I'm not surprised, and I'm sure there's still more out there. Interestingly enough, the former town planner or I think he was actually the economic development director up there. They have separate titles. Is somebody whom I know on Facebook, and I am forced to wonder if they saw all of what we did down here, because I posted a bunch on my page and then took it up there. I haven't asked them, but I did think that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, that would make sense if he cut it off your page.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely somebody whom I know. I don't actually think I even know him in person. We're just Facebook friends because he is also a musician and in planning.
All right, well, let's move back to our order.
Indeed so.
Approval of minutes from September 16th. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve them.
I'll second. Oh, wait a minute. I just have one misspelled word. Can I still make that change?
Yeah, what was it?
It was on page 2, number 2, talking about the foundation. The word is shore up the building on the second line.
Yeah, I let Ashley know, and I think it got changed in one place and not the other.
Yeah, I saw it further down. It said shore, but the first place says shore,
Yeah.
so it's HORE. That's all. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll still second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're good. Now reports, Joe, I don't have,
The treasurer's report?
yeah, we,
I got it.
in the mailbox.
No, I got it.
Oh, you got it?
I sent it via email after Paula sent it to me,
Okay.
So
to everybody, I think.
Oh, I didn't see it. I may have missed it, but I didn't see it.
all
Okay,
right. Well, there's $21,893.54 left.
okay. And did everybody get the open purchase orders page?
Is that the one that she sent today?
I thought it was yesterday. No, we got one today. That's the projects. The other one was,
Projects is the one that Orla sent to me that I forwarded, that has the balances that we've taken in from outside sources, so they don't appear on the budget sheet. I had sent that over. Ashley, if you've got it, I've got screen sharing enabled, if you want to pull it up. And if you don't have it, it's no big deal. We don't actually have to discuss it this time, but
I have it. I just am on a different computer. I can switch computers and I can pull it up. I'm typing
no,
up. Has it?
don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it, Ashley. It was just because
No.
it's generated separately than the regular budget report. I had asked Orla to pull it so I could forward it over. And it showed the totals for what we took in for the NIPS program, plus the payouts to date. I think she still has a couple to add in there. The private donations and grants related to the 65 Main property, which does not reflect the $2,500 reimbursement from TLGV because that came in after she generated that for me. And there was one other thing in there. The stuff from the IOB crowd fund, as it's been drawn down to pay out the wayfinding contract. And once that is concluded, whatever's left out of that will encumber over to Graphics Unlimited, so that the total encumbrance to Graphics Unlimited will be about half the value of that the electronic information sign for Town Hall, or as we like to call it, the Charlene sign. So that was just so you guys could keep some track of that, since it doesn't show up on the regular budget report.
so everybody should have that in their.
In their inbox, yes.
Okay.
So that $6,000 is the combined totals? Yes. No. 1,500.
6,000.
Each of those three intake line items, for lack of a better term,
I see
has
it
a
now.
different balance.
Okay.
You got it?
Yep. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Let's go on, update on businesses in town. We have there was one sheet in the mailbox. It's for G-Force Barbershop.
Where's that?
It's 853 Thompson Road.
Oh.
And I saw a Facebook post, and looking at the names, it looks like it's somebody that relocated maybe from Oxford.
Is that in as a home occ, Brian?
No, it just says adoption of trade name. It's not the Hallmark paper.
Okay, just curious.
And in addition, now we noticed, Brian and I had, Lafredo and I had emailed too, and we both noticed that, drafters, they have a banner up, the old Club 2087, but don't have any paperwork on that. And he also mentioned that there's Donahue Landscaping on his road on Lowell Davis. We don't have any paperwork on that either. So that's unofficial, but maybe the paperwork's coming.
Well, Joanne, can you be illuminating at all about the new owners of the former KFC? Is that deal inked?
No, well, it's under contract, so I really can't. I'm not at liberty to discuss it because it's not.
Okay.
It hasn't closed yet.
Okay. Well, apparently they're letting people know that they're coming in, so it's not a secret. But
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that may be why you haven't seen anything there. If that isn't an official sale of record yet, Brian, they just may not
Yeah.
be in that position.
Well, that's why I do mention the only official one I have is G-Force. And Brian and I are assuming this Drafter Sports Bar is the one from Dudley.
That's, I'm sorry, I was distracted by something. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the KFC, those are the people
Okay.
that we just mentioned. It's going to be a bar. Yep.
Okay. Well, things are moving. That's good. All right. Anything else on businesses in town?
I mean, it only took a week for the property to go under contract, so it went very quickly.
Nice.
Oh, and also the daycare, Main Street is under deposit too.
Oh, which one?
One right across from the Lutheran Church. That daycare was for sale, and that just went under the contract. I don't know if it's the property's under contract. I don't know if that was a business or not, but at least the property is under contract.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Next up is.
I've been seeing posts on Facebook for a bakery on Limehouse Road, and I couldn't find them on your list.
No, I haven't seen any posts, and I'm on Limehouse Road all the time, even today, and I haven't seen anything.
Well, today they showed a chocolate cupcake with chocolate frosting and a piece of a Hershey bar in the top of it.
But may not be
It
at an
looked like
official
someplace
business.
I wanted to look for.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a private Facebook and not a business?
I don't, yeah, it could be. It could be. I'm looking for it now and I can't, I got so much that came in on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I go down Limehouse Road all the time. I don't see anything that would look like a bakery, but
Okay.
we'll see. All right, well, let's go on to citizens' comments pertaining to agenda items.
There is a citizen attending in that Amy St. Ange is on the line. I don't know if she came in with the intent to make any comments.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Amy.
I'm just here listening,
Okay.
doing my dishes, baked some cookies, stuff like that.
Making cupcakes, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Moving on to old business, the only thing I have down is EDC alternate, and I don't have any new news. Don't know if anyone else has heard anything or from anyone. I guess not.
Brian,
Some suggested to put it on the selectmen's letter. Did anybody see the selectmen's letter? Was it on there?
I am aware that it has come out. I have not looked at the individual articles yet.
Yeah, neither have I, but it was supposed to be on the cover. Reaching out for volunteers for any commissions or committees.
I'll take a look when I go back in the office tomorrow.
I have it in my hand and I don't specifically see that. Not on the front page.
I mean, I think we'll all acknowledge that solicitation of new volunteers is a problem for pretty much every volunteer committee and commission.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be a better way to go about soliciting this interest than, word of mouth reach out, because it's got to be on your top of mind when you see the appropriate person, and there's got to be a better way to do this.
Brian, have I been moved up to full status, or am I still an alternate, or where do we stand with that?
Like I said, I have no new updates on anything.
I don't know what's involved in that, so.
Well, if John was to resign,
Oh, you're waiting for.
I'm going to submit a letter.
Okay.
And I haven't gotten anything. I assume Amy has not. And Tira has not. I will follow up. I'll check with John and see.
Well, didn't he indicate to you that he was going to step down from that just because he didn't have the time between the business and the fire station?
Yep, and he was going to do it formally. He was going to submit a letter. And that
You know what to
hasn't
do,
happened.
Brian? If you're able to, if you are able to visit him during the day
I will.
just bring one for him with his name typed on it to sign. He's not gonna write it himself. He doesn't have the time to do it. That's why he's not here in the first place. Just bring him a nice, simple resignation letter. He'll sign it. We'll submit it. Then Brian Lafredo can, be submitted for appointment to the Board of Select, because I think they all have to go to the Board of Selectmen, I think,
Yeah,
for acknowledgement, blah, blah, blah. And then it's going to be 2 alternate spots open.
yeah.
Unnecessarily complicated, but there you have it, right?
It's just me. I don't want to. I mean, I like John. I like him on the board. And I didn't want it to sound like, "Come on, John, see you."
No, we all feel the same way, but he hasn't been at a meeting in months. He's already said that he doesn't have the time,
Yeah. Oh, you're
which is
right.
fine. We all accept that. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Probably Scott needs to be reminded, that's all.
yeah.
Yeah. I will talk
And-
to him in person.
And he's not an email user, which means that it's got to be an in-person thing.
Yeah, he has email, but he doesn't refer to it very often.
Exactly.
So yeah, but I have no problem. I stop in once in a while to fill him in on what we're doing anyway. So no problem. I'll let you know. All right, new business. We got a letter from town clerk. It's that time of year. We have to submit our schedule of meetings for 2021. I sent everybody the proposal. I didn't see any conflicts. The way it, yeah, it's hard. I like doing this in person because then we just, pass around a piece of paper. So it looks
So what are we, third Wednesday? So January 20th,
February 7th,
February 17th,
March
March
17th,
17th,
April
April
21st,
21st,
May
May
19th,
19th, June
16th,
16th,
July
July 21st,
August
August
18th,
18,
September 15,
15 September, 20th of
October 20,
October,
November
17
17th,
November,
and
15 December.
15th. And everything seems to be away from Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July, all the stuff that might conflict with the meeting. But I did send that out to the members on a sheet like what we usually turn in. Ashley, you got it too, right?
Yes, I got it.
So it's in the format that we usually turn in.
Yeah, it's on a Word document. I move to approve it.
Okay, do we have a second?
I will. Joanne?
Okay. All in favor?
Oh, I'm on. Okay.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right, let's run with it.
Try it again.
I'm just doing this so we have the record. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? It passes. We have a schedule for 2021.
Like me to forward that to Renee tomorrow so she has it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You want to do that or should I do that?
I
Ash?
don't think it matters which one of you does it.
It's up to you. I'll be emailing her tomorrow anyways with the minutes and everything. So if you want me to send it with it, that way it's all together.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. down to progress reports. We did number 1.
Yep.
And number 2 is the Connecticut Community Connectivity Grant Program.
I did, in fact, successfully get an application out the door on Friday by the skin of my teeth. Yeah, I mean, like all of them, I think we've got a good proposal. The amount that was requested in the final draft was, off the top of my head, $157,000 to produce the number of signs in the locations proposed on the wayfinding report from Kelsey. She was able to deliver to me a draft that was sufficiently complete. It is not the final draft because we didn't have the final logo design back from Sullivan and Lashane, but she had enough information from them, fonts, colors, to be able to at least make decent mock-ups. We've got a lot of good backing documentation for that grant. We have the 2016 road safety audit in which wayfinding for pedestrian and cyclist connectivity was a recommended item. That RSA was under the very same grant program. So to my way of thinking, I believe that when they review these, they like to build on work already done. And if it's under their own program, I think that that's going to be very desirable for them. We had that. We had the wayfinding report. There was a third thing. Oh, the NECOG branding study. They all recommend wayfinding as an item. Had some really good letters of recommendation. You know, the usual suspects in some cases, the Historic Society, trails, both Blanchettes, Janet as the chair of MISRAC and Dennis actually as a cyclist. So that was an interesting perspective to have. And of course, he's also an engineer, somebody I'm leaving off. But regardless, you know, I think it was pretty strong. So I asked today, and I guess they expect to notify in 6 to 8 weeks. So hopefully when we come out of this, we will have some funding to actually fabricate and install.
Great.
Good work. Whatever happens next, you did a good job. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll only know how good it was whether we get awarded or not. But I was glad that I was able to I ended up having to turn around. You know, we got notification of that at like the end of August, and it seemed like an eternity. But since I didn't get Kelsey's report back until the Tuesday before it was due, because we were waiting on the Sullivan and Lashane stuff, it ended up being, you know, a hair on fire, turn it around, but it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that's the, whether it comes through or not, it's a lot of work. It makes my head spin. So I'm glad you can do it. Next up is the marketing and branding plan with Sullivan and Lashane. I missed the whole discussion during the branding meeting because of no power. What else do we?
Well, I can show you where we are with it if I can screen share it. So just bear with me for a second, and I'll pull up. Oh, is it this one? I just need to find it in today's emails. The hell is today? Is today the? Talk amongst yourselves while I dig it up.
Yeah, she's looking
to say?
She's looking for the logo, which they've modified a few times based on our recommendations, and we're all pretty much unanimous on board with this last one as being the one we like. It addressed most of our concerns, and it seems to get the job done and really represents the community. We can nitpick it to death, like I told her when I put my comment in, but overall, this is by far their best production. I think as a committee, we were all very happy with it.
I agree with that. I think that if we tried to put any more in, it would have gotten way too busy, and especially if it was in a smaller size or put up on the wayfinding signs. This is a nice balance of color and culture and recreation and imagery. I think that people will like it.
Oh, here it comes. There we go.
You see it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So that is the current iteration. Actually, the colors on my monitor look even brighter than I think they probably will, but I don't know how it's appearing for you guys. So yes, recognizable landmarks of the town of Thompson, one of the towers from the mill, the Ramsdale barn, and then the features that we asked to incorporate for the most part. We've got, you know, emphasis on our outdoor recreation and trail use, green spaces, the stylized water logo, which is the piece that Mr. Lafredo was not crazy about. The modified tagline, "Find Your Way," which I think everybody was very happy with, and the pin locator. I mean, I am significantly happier with this than with any of the prior iterations. It's graphic. It looks intentional. I'm pleased that this is what we have as a result.
Yeah, and the simplicity is good too. Like Charlie said, too busy just gets overwhelming and overlooked.
I'm wondering how much it would cost to put it up on the billboards that we have on Route 12 coming in from Putnam and directly across from the town hall, just as a kind of a rollout.
You mean those billboards that I hope burn down every time I pass them?
Yeah, those are the same ones, but since they're there, you know, maybe we should consider using it. I think those are the only two in town, unless there's one up on 193, but I don't think so.
Technically,
Just
I
a
believe they
thought.
own a third one that's mostly covered in bushes and trees at the junction of 193 and 12. It's all it's pretty derelict. I'm pretty sure they're all owned by the same person.
Yeah, that's where I saw it. You're right. It's kind of buried.
I know.
Anyway, it was just a
contact info.
Just a thought. It's a good image, and I think we're the rest of the branding committee has pretty much agreed that it will be on the finished package as it comes out. It would help to perhaps it would help to get it out into the consciousness of the community.
Well, theoretically, that's what putting it on all the wayfinding signs will do. I mean, once it's truly finalized, that gets used everywhere we can use it, right? So you know, it replaces any interim pieces, or it gets, you know, added on to press releases. So that is its function.
Okay, now having said that, how does it get finalized? I mean, the committee that's been working on all this and reporting back to EDC has said, this is what we like. Now, if EDC says this is what we like, is that it, or do we have to push it up the ladder?
No, I don't think there's any ladder pushing that needs to be done. I mean,
I don't think so
I don't
either.
know.
I'd hate to have a.
I mean, we have to. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. No, I mean, once the committee and subcommittee and the commission agree to it, of course, Sullivan and Lashane's work is done, and then I guess just present it to the Board of Selectmen, I guess. Although I don't know what role they would have in it. But you know, there it is. It's the finished point of a contract that we engaged in, and it needs to be adopted municipally. So I guess, yeah, the Board of Selectmen probably need to adopt it formally. I guess that makes some sense. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It might be a better question to direct to Renee.
Well, Amy
we've
is still
we've
on
had
board on this
Well,
meeting. What does she think?
That's true, although I was thinking more along the lines of, you know, if Renee believes the branding process is done, because it's been informal via email right now.
Okay.
But yes, certainly it's a question that Amy can answer.
Well, my thought, you're talking about the logo that you just put up. And the
Yeah,
whole
I can put it back
package.
up.
I mean, maybe it's a matter of EDC and branding just coming to the Board of Selectmen and say, hey, we contracted Sullivan and Lashane. This is where we're going. I think the logo is fabulous. And I honestly can say that I love Find Your Way. I think that's very fitting. It's a great, it's a great logo that captures the attention. And I think it speaks well of what Thompson is all about. So yeah, just and say, hey, this is what we've come up with. It's just a matter of communicating and saying, this is what we've come up with. It's not about us approving it necessarily, but just being kept in the loop. That's my thought.
Yeah, sounds good. And so I guess the first step is just to confirm with Renee that she thinks that we are done as branding, which I think we probably are, but since it's all been batted back and forth in email, it might need something more formal. If you guys want to conditionally, as EDC, approve it, I mean, it seems silly and formal in a lot of ways, but it is a municipal function, and it will be used in municipal communication. Whatever formal or informal types of documents, that's what we had it done for. So let's just make sure everybody is talking the same language.
Then, for the record, I make a motion that we, the EDC, report to the chair of the branding committee that we like this logo and we would like to tell Sullivan and Lashane, go ahead, put it on there, print up the report and get it back to us. That's
a long motion, Charlie.
I know, but for the record, I know, Ashley, if you can think of a way to do it in shorthand without anybody not being able to read it, just approve it and ask, unless Renee has an objection, and I haven't seen it in any of the emails, then we should consider it done and move it forward.
Well, we can just say that we approve the logo and let the process continue.
The logo was only a real hang up. On the rest of it we reviewed, and I think we all thought it was good material and useful, and as long as they're going to help us to start rolling it out so that we can get all departments and agencies synchronized.
Yep. So Charlie made a motion. Anybody want to second some portion of his motion?
I will. Joanne.
Any discussion, folks?
Do we have any more discussion on this or the motion or what it entails or the logo? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Then Charlie's motion passes.
Oops.
Curious how Ashley's wording that.
Yeah.
That's why we pay her the big bucks.
Yes.
I'll try to cut it down a little.
Are you still writing, Ash? Do you need another half?
I'm good.
All right, let's go to, one thing I put on here, we have a Thompson Community Design Workshop coming up on November 10th. Did everybody get that notice? I don't remember if I forwarded or not. Any,
Well, Charlie and I, of course, were already aware of, and Brian were already all aware of it because that's a trails thing. So it really would only have been you and Joanne from this commission who wouldn't have necessarily seen that before.
Yeah, I didn't get anything.
If you don't have access to Facebook, I'll send a copy to you.
okay, thank you, Charlie.
So long story short, just to get you guys caught up, and so Ashley can have something to summarize for the minutes. You're certainly all aware of the partnership that we've had with National Park Service, the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program that started late last year for the design of a permanent interpretive park-like setting for the site of the Great East Thompson train wreck on the airline trail. So at this point in that partnership, we are ready to move forward with a public design workshop. It's going to be virtual. It's going to be on the 10th of November, which is the day before Veterans Day. 7 to 8:30 is the time slot that we've planned. I am going to create a Zoom link for that on the 2nd of November because I have to upgrade my Zoom subscription to include webinars, and I don't want to get charged for a part of a month since I'm only going to take the upgrade for a month. So the link will be available on the 2nd of November. I will forward it to everybody on that day, even though I will be on vacation. And it's going to be very similar to what we did with the wayfinding presentation. In other words, a Zoom webinar with live polling, showing some options. Presenters, we had a discussion of it right before this meeting. So Charlie and I, and Brian, were you on that too, Lafredo? You just came in for this one. I don't even remember. Anyway, some of us were on the prior meeting where we went through the planned structure of the slide deck. Joey Martino, probably Lyanne Graff from TLGV, Steph and Elizabeth from NPS. What's that, Brian?
The drawing to the parking lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I was there.
Yeah. And I will be the presenters, just talking about the background so far, yada, yada, and then the live polling questions. The students from this year's UConn design team will be in attendance. I do not believe that they will be presenting, but this is going to be part of the background information they take for their draft. So it's all, working together nicely. As with everything, the end result of this assistance grant is going to be something that I'm going to try to turn into monetary grants. I have two targets, a small one from Connecticut Humanities, which is the same program that funded the suffrage events. Their quick turn grants are available for up to $5,000, and then they have implementation grants that can fund larger projects. And that would be to produce some of the actual interpretive signs or whatever form of interpretive artifacts would be for the site. But then the larger one would be a National Endowment for the Arts Creative Placemaking Grant to try to get some funding to do some of the bigger elements, the pavilion, maybe some of the improvements to the parking. But again, because we'll have a very comprehensive community engagement process, a good final report from NPS, the sample design work from the, all of that makes a very good and appealing package to try to turn it around and get some real money to do some real work there. So fingers crossed on that. But the 10th, in any case, everybody dial in.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the Airline Trail Z card brochure.
Oh my God, am I talking again? Yeah, I know.
You just do a lot.
I know. So on the 9th of October, the marketing committee for the Eastern Regional Tourism District, of which I am a member, I presented the final proposal to them, and it was approved. We have a total of 7 partner towns: Thompson, Putnam, Pomfret, Hampton, Wyndham, Columbia, and Portland. Each of those towns is kicking in funds. So our $3,000, which we'll be drawing out of some of that surplus money that's on that second report. That was how that was made feasible. Most of the towns kicked in 3. Columbia could only commit to 2, but it was a total pool of $21,000 in the 7 towns. No, I'm sorry, $20,000 from the 7 towns. That will be matched, presumably, by the $25,000 from the Eastern Region Tourism District. I say presumably because it was voted to be approved by the marketing committee, but they also, it's wheels of democracy, right? They turn very slowly. So the full board or the executive committee. The executive committee votes for final approval. I have no concerns that this will not be funded. So then we'll have a total pool of $45,000. The $25,000 from the district will go to the stuff that everybody shares, the design work, and whatever consultation that's going to happen in conjunction with the 12-town task force for the airline trail. A piece that has yet to be determined is whether Connecticut RC&D or we serve as the fiscal agent. I believe that should be Connecticut RC&D because they're the keepers of the master plan for the airline trail. But we have a mechanism to do it if the funds need to come to me, which I just need to work that out with Jeannie. And then the individual town funds will go for essentially what the individual towns themselves get. So for our $3,000, we would get 6,000 of those Z-fold brochures. They work out to 50 cents a pop. And what that did was it enabled towns who could maybe come in at a lower level to just get a number of brochures back commensurate with what they were able to kick in. So in the end, we're going to have a genuinely regional tourism thing that is not just a brochure that you keep in your wallet as that fold down credit card map, but also because of the connectivity to the airline trail project with Connecticut RC&D, we'll have, wait for it, QR code jumps to CT Visit, the new airline trail website, the individual town websites, and however they want to promote their own stuff on their side of the map. So it is a truly connected regional tourism series that should work exactly the way we want it to. And TLGV is probably willing to do some distribution for us as well, but that was not really a formal part of the proposal, so I need to talk to them about that at a later time. So that's how that's going.
That sounds.
And we'll know on the 5th of November is when the final vote will be. That's what I left out.
Okay. Number 6 is the train wreck site.
I'll take it if you want to rest.
Please.
Okay, in addition, I just sent out a copy of the flyer to you, Brian, to Joanne, and also to Amy St. Ange, because I know she has a Facebook presence, but I don't know if she looks at all the sites that I post things on. So the materials that are coming together for that, it's a lot like the wayfinding sign project, is that a lot of pieces are clicking into place systematically, almost like dominoes falling. We've got the work that's being done with the National Park Service. We now have a team of Yukon engineering students. I think there's 6 of them that are taking this on as a studio project for their final project. Their report will not be ready until May or so of next year, but they are putting together our wish list and looking at how it would have to fit into the entire project. We have some opportunities to market this beyond what is available through the state. I've been asking questions about something called the TAP grant, which is Transportation Alternatives Program. That is the monies that were used to fund the bridges and underpasses and stone dust in Pomfret. And I found out that they basically put in their funding requests through 2025. But in 2023, they're going to be looking for some more grants to include in the next round. And that happens to be the same time as all of our studies are going to be done. So it's just another thing that's falling in place. Train wreck video has been updated. It includes a QR code in it that will take the viewer to the Visit Thompson page on our website. We're going to have to do a little bit of housekeeping on there for what people will find when they pop over to that. There's also a invitation about this workshop, this November 10th workshop, is how it closes out and fades to black. And it's up there for a long enough time for people to read it and think about it. And there is a link. You can't click it because it's on a YouTube, but there's a link that will tell people more about getting more information. That brings them to the Thompson Trails page on the website. When we have the dial-in information for the Zoom meeting, I recommend that we get that put onto the page, either or both of those web pages, so that visitors who are drawn there because of this video will find the next bit of information that they need to become involved. We're interested in where can we post these flyers. The ones that I also just sent out is suggestion is churches and schools and libraries, and Tira's going to print up a number of them that I'll pick up and distribute, including I'll put some of them up on the kiosks on the trailhead. And by the way, the video was vetted and validated by Tom Chase, who's a historian that put together a tremendous amount of railroad memorabilia that we have in the Turtle Lot building on the second floor. It's almost a full room of stuff that he's got up there for us. So everything that's in the text is accurate. The video in the first half of the 5 minutes is actually, I think it's closer to 5 minutes and 30 seconds, but the first half of it has imagery about trains, steam locomotives in the fog, and it looks good. But Tom also pointed out that, of course, the locomotives were European. You could tell by the bumpers on them. And there's a diesel that's part of a train wreck. And he says, but that's nitpicking. The text is all historically accurate and valid to the site. So that's good. And if you haven't seen it yet, again, it's on social media. It's on several sites, including Thompson Together. Just before it tells you to scan the QR code, there is a view of this area, a 360-degree view that pops in how far it is to Hartford, how far it is to Webster, how far it is to Southbridge and Sturbridge and Worcester and all these other areas that are important destination points or reference points, Providence, Putnam, and as it does that 360-degree, it brings us back to something that the branding committee has been talking about all along, is that we're really close. We're closer than you think. We've got a lot going on, and you don't have to go very far. So it meets a lot of good requirements for us. Related note that is not specifically to this, but maybe the Porta-John that's been up there and has been well stocked and well maintained and well used all summer is scheduled to be pulled out the week after Veterans Day. I do think, in consideration with the number of people that have been using the trail, we may want to consider the EDC and Trails Committee split the cost of keeping one there year round. And that's just a thought that maybe we need to look at it a little bit more now, because there's a lot of people using that trail, a lot of people. And I think that the other issue is that we're getting a lot of inquiries about when will the trail be upgraded between Sandam Road and Lowell Davis Road. Back in the spring, I spoke with Amy and Richard Benoit about that, and I was told that not until the asphalt plant closes, and that he identified there's some serious drainage issues, especially right underneath 395. I agree with him. I've been trying to find out if stone dust is available for us to be able to grab it and stockpile it and use it as he gets that grading and drainage issue addressed. But I'm of the opinion, and from everything I can find out, that length is the worst of all of the airline trail, because they began repairing at the southern end of the trail, and they're almost finished with Pomfret, and Putnam is on the streets. It's not on a dedicated rail trail. So getting that finished, the people that I'm responding to on Facebook are saying that they wish that was done. Another footnote about that stretch is that a volunteer from the Trails Committee went out with a borrowed tractor and mower and cut down the weeds along the side. I happen to have been speaking with Maureen Nicholson from the Board of Selectmen in Pomfret, who was on the trail with her bicycle and some friends. And she appreciates that the weeds have all been cut down. She thought it was terrible and congested feeling the last time that she was on it. So people notice it. And the more we can get done on those things, the better it will be. If we have to wait until 2023 to put in for the TAP grant, then, well, 90% of the costs can be paid for out of federal transportation dollars. And I think that covers it for now. The rest is just work in progress. Tara,
What?
does that sound about complete?
Oh, yes, I would say that was exhaustive, Charlie.
Well, I'm not exhausted yet, but I'll give it a rest.
Can you repeat that?
No, don't ask him to do it, Joanne, because he'll do it.
Yeah, he will.
No, I can't. It's all stream of consciousness. I can't repeat exactly what I said.
We know.
All right, let's move on before he thinks of another footnote. We have
We
the
kid because
6-month
we care, Charlie.
Yes. Yeah, Charlie, you're a machine. And I mean that in a good way.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to do something that I have concerns about, and I think that it will make the town better than I found it.
Yeah. All right, number 7 is the 6-month project to update the POCD regarding the EDC working group discussion back earlier in the month. We looked at the EDC section 8 that Tara had written up so far. What I got from it, and made notes, was something where our EDC, we should look forward to articulating our role better, express what we want to do and how we want to do it in kind of in concrete terms, come up with attainable, measurable goals, create a 10-year calendar of things we want to accomplish, develop a program of incentives for businesses, which we have talked about after the Fort Hill Farms thing. And another thing we mentioned was communicating and collaborating with other EDC chairs, which I thought it was a good idea when John Filchak had brought it up and was going to set something up. And that never did happen. And all of this, except for the collaborating, Tara has incorporated into the latest section 8 from what I saw.
Yeah, so I included this, you know, of course, we always have big ambitions, but we also have big agendas on this commission, which works against us in some ways.
Yeah.
I had hoped that we could have some substantive discussion of this, which is why I sent you the excerpt a little bit ahead of time for comment. I mean, I don't consider this 6 pages to be done, although it can be done with just, you know, finished plus edits and comments. When I had initially drafted the sample table of contents, I had included some other subsections. Maybe we don't really need them because a lot of the topics do get treatment in several sections. For example, the connection between economic development and agriculture and food systems. But the agriculture section turns out to be super, super robust. Carolyn and Judy Rondeau and Lynn Landry and a little bit later Kais and I sat down and drafted out probably a section on agriculture that's twice as long as this. So maybe we don't need as much flesh out from EDC on that. And the, hold on, let me pull out my sample table of contents here. Bear with me. Bear with me. Section 8. Agriculture, food security, and economic development, outdoor recreation assets and economic development, historic and cultural assets and economic development. You know, I had envisioned still having those as peel outs, but maybe because they get such thorough treatment in those related sections on agriculture, on recreation, a little less so on history, maybe that's sufficient. But I would like to see this commission articulate those action steps. I mean, I can posit them, but ultimately it's you guys as the commission that should be setting that 10-year agenda. You know, this commission has longevity and has every indication of that it's going to continue on and get more and more active as you have over the last couple of years. I don't see that diminishing. So I don't know, that is a very long-winded way of saying, lay it on me, guys. What do you got? What do you want to add in here? What do you want to further articulate beyond what we've already drafted and discussed? I mean, you know, the Bryans were all in that EDC discussion at the beginning of the month. So a lot of those comments are already incorporated, but I don't think they were exhaustive. What's that, Bri?
Just talking to my wife. She was worried the camera was on.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading it. I couldn't think offhand of anything to add, because you have those recommendations. There's no need to expand on them yet. I did think it was.
Joanne, what about you? Because you weren't in that discussion group that day, I don't think. You weren't available, as I recall.
I was there, but I've got.
Were you?
I was there the other night on
No, I mean, no, the Monday night you were there, but when we had the Section 8 breakout, I want to say that was the beginning of the month, maybe the end of September. I think it was the Bryans and George. Amy was listening in.
Oh,
It was a relatively small group.
No, I'm fine with whatever you have. There's nothing I need to add.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty inclusive. The
Okay.
final one that I read anyway.
Okay.
I don't think I was in on that one. I was in on the Trails Rec sections.
Oh, you mean I only had 2 of 3 Bryans?
Yeah. Maybe at Brian Flaherty, just for fun.
No, it was 2 Bryans.
There's 2 Bryans. I mean, it was actually an excellent discussion, and George O'Neill, who has a perhaps more conventional perspective on economic development, had a lot to contribute, and actually has sent me some more sort of links to consider. And a lot of what he suggested got pulled in here as well. So anyway, I don't know. I do, we're going to have one more opportunity as a commission, possibly 2, but realistically 1 in November, to agree to a final draft of the economic development section. And I want it to reflect you guys and your priority as a group of volunteers who have been working on these projects and initiatives. Certainly the defining of the roles, I think, is something you should look at very closely. To make sure that what is articulated is how you really see yourselves, what you want to be doing. But this is because I do all of the typing, it inevitably gets colored by how I hear things, right? So that's part of why George's perspective was so valuable, because I'm coming at it from an incrementalist point of view, and he's got, like I say, sort of a more conventional, zoomed out view. Somewhere in there, the synthesis of those perspectives, I think, is something that's really good, and perhaps more useful than just generalities. I hate generalities. I like specificity.
So you really want us to dial down into 8.3 and 8.4 and see if that meets our, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that is surprisingly, you were the condensed, the concise one here, Charlie. Yes.
Okay, I'll do that. I've noticed a few things in my spell checker didn't like, but most of them are small. I did find that.
Yeah, I don't actually care about grammatical errors. My spell check will catch those eventually as well. I'm talking about content.
Okay.
Grammar and format, don't trouble yourself with that petty detail. I'll worry about that later, and because I catch them as I go. It's the content that matters. What are we missing? What has not been said that we really want to say as a group that's going to carry us for 10 years?
I thought it was interesting that you mentioned the 11th village.
I decided it needed a name.
The pop-up.
I like it. I hadn't noticed it before.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
Well, I literally decided it needed a name for this document. That's why you hadn't noticed it before.
Okay, well, hey, sometimes it's me.
No, it's not you. I will say somebody made and it might have been Karen Durlack the other day, that the stuff we've been talking about adventure racing should be under economic development more than it should be under trails and recreation, because we're talking about that as a driver. And I had not included that in here. So I will add some content here for that. And also, although we do talk about the Airline Trail State Park, the day I drafted this, I was knee deep in writing that proposal about the brochure. So I managed somehow to leave out Trainwreck Park. So I've got to add some content in there as well, because those are all related. And while certainly they are trails initiatives, they are definitely also economic development projects, because of the perspective that we have taken that our unique outdoor resources, right, they can't be replicated by anybody else because they only exist here, have been a part of what we've been looking at for driving local development all along.
Terry, you have the Trainwreck Park mentioned in the last paragraph. 8.2.
Right.
Yeah, it says this project also ties in directly with the development of the site, the Great East Thompson Trainwreck. I do think that we could do better to tie into the fact that we have miles of scenic roads to ride bicycles on, and also mountain bike trails throughout the town. That's the kind of stuff that we're getting from the group that Richard Fries is part of.
Yeah, well, that's the adventure racing stuff, the cycling, and like the trail running stuff, the Rymacon, making it a top of mind destination. Now we've got work to do to really fully realize that, but the groundwork has been laid, not even by us, right? By those groups finding us.
Yes.
So that's the piece that I've got to articulate into the initiatives.
All right, I'll work on that, because I kind of seen the Airline State Park as a tie-in to all, the northeast and the southwest corners of the town, and all the assets that are available in between. So I'll see about dropping a paragraph in there.
Just send me whatever, and that's what everybody's doing, Charlie. They're sending me, whether it's long form or bullet points or ideas, and I'm getting it in there.
Yeah, I did that on an earlier one, but this is the first time I dialed down into this. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Brian's, Joanne?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read through it again and see if I come up with something.
Think strategically. That's all I have to say. Think strategically.
Okay. All right, then. All right. Well, we'll go on to, it's almost 8 o'clock. We'll go on to number 8, the wayfinding plan and signage. We're up to a point where we had almost the final report.
Yeah. Well, we covered it a little bit because it was a piece of the grant proposal I did for the CCGP.
Yeah.
So again, once we have the final, everybody is happy. Nobody's going back with any more edits to that logo, which I'm pretty sure we're at that point. That's the last piece I need to get to Kelsey, and then we have that final report, and that'll close that contract. Once they bill us out and it's all paid for, whatever is left out of all the grant funds and IOB money from that pool will be put towards the encumbrance for the municipal electronic sign. So there's no other real updates from that beyond what we've already discussed.
All right. But I should leave this on for next month too, right?
May as well, because there might be a little teensy bit of wrap up at that point.
Okay. Yeah, anytime anybody sees something here, I like to follow through, even if it's just to close out an item. But when it comes to a point where we can leave it off the following agenda, that will make it easier for us to have a meaningful meeting.
Well, as it turns out, the next two items on the agenda will probably be those after this wrap up.
Yep. The next item is 6 months of suffrage. And if you had any final thoughts, that's okay. And I have a note here that we'll close this one out because the 6 months is over.
The 6 months is over, and I am actually in process of closing out that grant. They issued whatever it was, 80% of the grant. So to release the final 20%, I've got to make the final report. I would say that all the feedback we've had from it has been positive. We certainly had to change a lot of what we planned in terms of the scale because of the pandemic. But what we did that very few other communities were able to do was we did everything. We changed stuff, we scaled it back, but we delivered on every single event that we proposed. Some of them were surprisingly successful. The very first one, the sash making workshop, which was done as a Zoom presentation, day of probably had 20 to 25 participants, which was nice. But Leslie got inquiries from, I think, a Girl Scout troop in Indiana, from a couple of places, very far-flung places with whom she shared it. So it had, reach that we didn't anticipate. Some of the things were not as successful as we would have liked. The Proper Ladies, which was our most expensive event, only was attended by about 20, 25 people because we had to move it out of Riscavage and into the gazebo, and it was kind of a cool day that day. But we've got the record of having done it. I think Connecticut Humanities is going to be happy with it. And again, just in terms of a portrait of resilience in the face of obstacles, I think that volunteer group really deserves congratulation because they were super into it. And, and that was really a Renee project. I can't say this enough. When we went down for that presentation in Hartford, when they rolled it out last August, I guess, that was me and Ken and Renee. I was interesting about Renee was super, super enthused. And this was really on her enthusiasm that this all went forward. And, it was nice. It was nice to be able to commemorate it. Gary O, spoke very highly of it, was pretty interested in it. And I like it when little things grow legs.
And I was
But that'll
there,
be closed out this week.
I was there for the finale at Thompson Common when May Flexer presented the certificates to the volunteers. Tara wasn't able to make that day. It was a very nice recognition from our state senator.
Oh, that's right. That's right, because I wasn't able to be there. Yeah, so all in all, it's a rousing success.
Good job. All right, the zoning regs revision, Brian Santos was gonna.
Yeah, he didn't make it in, but that's, at this point, they've been adopted for a couple of months now. They are posted for review on the website, as is the revised zoning map. We are definitely already getting people who are making inquiries about, can I do this now? Can I do this now? We recognize as a commission, we being in this case P&Z, that we're going to have to periodically look at these to make sure that they are working the way that we want them to. So Joe Perotti and I have discussed, in at least in sort of casual comment in the meetings, we said, once a year at least, we're going to look at this and make sure that we didn't create problems for ourselves or fail to address something that we intended to address. So it's going to be a much more flexible and fluid document. But just off the bat, we've had some interesting questions about subdivisions with shared driveways that wouldn't have been possible before, potential mixed use of buildings or conversions to multis from single families. So I feel pretty positive about the work that was done and the direction it's going to go in. And again, you know, it's a case of a group of volunteers, in this case, elected commissioners, doing a massive amount of work over, you know, whatever periods people counted, anywhere from 1.5 years to 2 years to 10 years, depending on how long they've been on the commission, and producing something that was meaningful. I can tell you that I've had a couple of discussions with other planners, you know, my peers across the state, and they cannot believe the scope of what we accomplished. Other towns often have planning and zoning commissions, or just zoning commissions where they're split, who believe their job is to make sure nothing ever gets built or ever gets done, and they want it to be static, and they want it to be this, and they want it to be that, and are consequently less collegial with the development staff. And I'm telling you, I talked to the just in a casual conversation about something else, the planner down in Lebanon and somewhere else recently, maybe Colombia, and they were really impressed that at what our commission was able to accomplish. So if you see any of those guys, tell them they did a good job. But you can take it off the agenda for next time.
Okay. Yeah, and the final one, and I don't know if this one should come off too. This is the foundation at 65 Main.
Well, it's in a holding pattern. That one I would leave on there because it's still under discussion and development. Hold on, I scrolled away from my video screen. Is Amy still on? Yeah, she is. So Amy and I met with our friend Mr. Santos and a colleague of Brian's, who is a local GC, Sean Copeland of Copeland Builders. The four of us walked the whole property, basement to third floor. Sean, I assume with Brian, but at least, you know, as a Connecticut licensed GC, is going to turn around a full rehab estimate. And then I will have the answers to the last round of questions that were posed to me by Suzanne Witkowski. You know, hopefully that will break down some further resistance. You know, it's still a viable project. It's still a thing that we have money put aside for, and you know, the discussion's still out there. So I would leave that on there. I don't know if Amy has anything she'd like to add here.
So I guess the only thing that if I was to add anything is, yeah, it'll be interesting to get the estimate from Sean Copeland. And then we can really just see the full scope of the project. Certainly if it ends up being a large ticket item, my feeling is pretty strongly that we just need voter approval. That if it's a large amount of money that's going to be put out, not necessarily just for the foundation, but as the project as a whole, then the entire town, the voters need just input. And that was my feeling after putting a lot of thought into the project as a whole. So, and I'll just
actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Amy, because Brian Santos and I were talking about that. Is we were both a little confused about why the old Teague building went to town meeting, and of course it occurred to me in a flash. That must have been a reimbursement grant outlay.
Was
in which case
was that confirmed by John Rice? Because I know John Rice was pretty.
He raised it, yes, and it didn't make sense to any of us who were listening. I was like, why would they have gone to town meeting if there was no outlay? But that must be it. There must have been a grant outlay that would have needed to be approved because of the way the ordinances are written.
But
whereas
no
if it
matter
were
what, any appropriation over a certain amount, whatever it is, whether it's funding for litigation, has to go to voter approval, and the same thing should apply with this project. If it's over a certain amount, maybe it'll come in, you know, low enough that we can move forward. So, right.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that statement. The The confusion was if it is quote unquote free money, in other words, if it's a non-matching grant or a non-reimbursement grant, that was what was confusing everybody in that conversation. And it was afterwards that I realized it must have been that it was a front the money, for which absolutely you would need approval because of the way the ordinances are written,
Right.
and then get it back, as opposed to what we're proposing for this small piece at this moment. But yes, absolutely. If there were reimbursements that were required that the town had to shell out for, yes. I don't think anybody disagreed with that.
So let's see what Sean Copeland comes in with.
Yep.
That'll be good.
Okay, so we'll leave it on, we'll follow up. Final section is comments by commission members.
I'm glad that I was able to hear what was just said about 65 Main Street, especially because it does seem to fit in nicely with two comments that were on the selectmen's update. The mill area renovations and the 4 to 10 year plan to make sure that all town assets are in proper shape. I'm wondering, Tara, has any thought been given or could some thought be given to dividing this project so that we already knew that the foundation had to be stabilized, but what if the next phase could be done in one fiscal year and another phase in the following fiscal year that would not detract from renovating the property, but would keep us underneath that cap that Amy just mentioned?
Yeah, well, that's fundamentally what I've been proposing all along, although not necessarily in quite such small increments as to keep it under, whatever that cap is. But I had it broken out into, I think, 4 construction phases in terms of logical ways to put it together, foundation, roofing, siding, because those are sort of the most structurally important, windows and energy systems, interior renovation. I'm not looking at it, so I don't remember exactly how I had it parceled out, because it's been my assumption that it's going to be challenging if the town is not going to pay for it to get the whole nut at once. It doesn't mean I'm not looking for opportunities to get the whole nut at once, but realistically, I see this as probably being a series of small grants, crowd funds, that kind of thing, until maybe eventually I've got enough sort of funding equity, so to speak, in the project that it gets a more serious look from some of the places that have said almost, but not quite. There's a couple of USDA grants that I didn't get funded for, but that I got very, very good feedback from. So that I think if I go back in another round, I've got a better chance, that kind of thing. I've never looked at it as we're going to do the whole thing at once. I'd love to be able to. I don't think it's realistic given that the town has been pretty clear, and this has nothing to do with Amy. This goes back to Ken. This goes back to Paul Lenke. Nobody has wanted to say, we own this project, let's just fix it. Not necessarily for bad reasons, but that is a hurdle that I have not been able to figure out a better way to address than by phasing it.
That was my recollection also, and it just occurred to me that if we all understood that, because we've been hearing it for 2 years, but that wasn't necessarily communicated with our new selectmen when they came on board. And I guess that's why I felt a sense of, I don't want to say betrayal, but I was stunned that anybody was going to oppose what seemed a very logical next step to me. But again, I've been hearing it for 2 years and they didn't. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, the project's there. It's been well described. I've got as much of a plan put together as I can under current circumstances, and that plan evolves every time I sort of turn a key and and get the return on my question or my inquiry, or some piece falls into place. For example, the programming, the workshopping to do the programming of the final piece, we can move forward with that as soon as January. I've got non-for-profit partners who aren't asking a dime, who are ready to do it. There was a piece I had asked a grant for that I didn't get awarded. I believe that I just found an organization that's offering that same service as an assistance, as an assistance grant. I have to look into it, but it's all there, right? It's just a matter of when we put it into motion.
All right.
Good.
I will add one more thing, and I know I'm the most exhausted person here. I'm just about to fall over in my chair. I'm so tired. But Amy and I actually went on a very interesting, well, she didn't go on the site walk, but she met us there. And Karen Durlak and Dave Ostrowski and I walked over to the site of the Blaine Road Bridge at Ravenel Road for across the Quinnebog there. Yeah, Charlie knows the one. You guys know the one I mean, the one that Blumenthal came out for a couple of years ago that we had the Yukon plans for, the decommissioned bridge, footbridge.
Yep.
So in one of the recent discussions of the POCD, the topic came up a couple of times to the point where I said, I'm just going to email the guy from the Army Corps and see where we are. Turns out that was totally serendipitous. They just recently got their iterations of a plan back. So they were able to take that Yukon design, take it and get it, actually signed off on by a licensed engineering firm. They're costing it out. They know what they want. And Ed Greeno, who is the Army Corps guy, who was Marianne's contact, is cautiously optimistic that they've got a good chance of getting the funding released by the Fed to actually do the prep and construction in 21.
That's huge.
Yeah, so fingers crossed. It's out of our control, obviously, because it's at the federal level, but it was not forgotten. There might be a couple of things with which we can assist them. Apparently the first 100 feet of the access off Ravenel actually crosses 2 private parcels and is not town or federally owned. But they're currently allowing people to access it from that point. So that, I think, might just be a matter of formalizing that access is allowed. And so totally serendipitous and reason for cautious optimism.
For anybody that doesn't know where that is, if you look at it on a satellite picture, it is a direct link between downtown North Grosvenordale and the Bull Hill Preserve of the Wyndham Land Trust. It puts it on a straight line through and makes a really nice bike ride.
So there you have it, guys. Some good news to end the day.
Okay. Can always use good news. Any more comments by commission members?
No.
Okay, everybody still awake?
No.
All Next meeting, November 18th, 6:30 p.m. I assume it'll be Zoom. I keep leaving location TBD, but if everybody's good, we'll tell Ashley we can adjourn at 8:20.
Good night, everybody. Stay safe.
Good night. Thanks,
Good night.
guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.